Hi, this is Anna Imagination with a Healing Garden, and welcome to Shifting Perspectives. So, I have been talking really on the side of BDSM. I've mentioned it here and there, and this is the video where I finally just get right into it and I roll up my sleeves and I say, let's talk about this. Myth number one, we are going to address this. BDSM has nothing to do with sex. Nothing. One of my clients is a mother and a son. BDSM has nothing to do with sex. So we're going to throw that out right off. And anyone who's into BDSM knows this. It's outsiders. It is conformists. It is people outside of the lifestyle who think this. So we're throwing that out right now. In order for this conversation to work, you have to understand that that is a limiting, toxic belief, and you've missed the point. Way too many people who are not lifestylists come into BDSM thinking that, and that's when bad things happen. So that's the first thing we're going to throw out. BDSM is about your relationship with control, authority, and power. That is what BDSM is about. It's actually a lot more about that, but that's a good place to start. It depends on which branch of it you are actually talking about. So control, authority, and power. These are like my favorite things in the world to talk about. When you sit down with control, authority, and power, we have a role that we all define ourselves in, and we have a defined role with a relationship in all of these things. This is about our relationship with control, authority, and power. And to define our relationship, we accept a role. Now, there is a negative and a positive charge on everything. And there is a required neutrality with that negative and positivity. And when we don't have, this is important, when we lack the negative and positive balance in ourselves, we seek out the supplement in other people. That's projection. That is 100% what projection is. So if you have not mastered the fine art of balancing neutrality in yourself, then you're either significantly negative or you're significantly positive. If you lack the ability to bring these two elements together to create a neutral role, that's when you seek out other people. Now, you can do this in one of two ways. You can find projections in other people, or you can work on yourself and do the inner work. Those are really your choices. You can do the inner work, or you can seek out other people to supplement what you lack. When you project onto other people and you seek other outside sources to supplement, that's when we nurture mental illness. And when you look inward and look to supplement what you are lacking in that neutrality of positive and negative balance, that is when you actually do healing. And those are your options. We have multiple roles in our lives that require that balance. We have our identity. We have authority. We have belonging. We have our career. So when you have let's say you are fully positive with identity, but because you're not balanced, you lack the negativity, you will probably seek out a partner who will supplement that, or a child, or somebody. If you're a parent, you might use your children to basically protect and supplement what you are lacking. And that's where you end up with codependency. If it's authority that you have a problem with, where you lack the authority or you have too much authority, then you would probably seek out a job to supplement what you lack in that neutrality. And if you have a problem with belonging, then you would probably seek out a cult or a community or a social network, because you're looking for that balance. And if you are too far left or too far right or anywhere on that spectrum that's out of balance, that's when you start using other things to supplement. So you can use, again, you can use people to supplement, you can use a job to supplement, or you can use a community to supplement. You can use possessions to supplement. And when you start using other people to supplement, that's when you create codependency. You can create codependency with people, you can create codependency with a job, and you can create codependency with a community. Now, BDSM absolutely caters to all of this. So it's kind of like it's a niche. I would say it's a hidden niche that allows people to basically manipulate this imbalance in a very specific way. It's a way of, in basically a lifestyle. We're going to say lifestyle. So everyone actually practices BDSM. You practice it when you use your children or your spouse in a method to balance out your identity. You use it with your job. If you seek out a job that is too excessively authoritative or too excessively submissive, and you use it in a community when you have to have a community to supplement your definition on where you belong or in your possessions. You are manipulating the negative and the positive imbalance to supplement what you lack. Now, in the case of control, authority, and power, that's where it turns into your lifestyle. And it's the same thing. You are looking to project what you lack in the self, and you are projecting that onto all of these other elements. When you do the inner work, it is a step back and a realization that this is all codependency. This is all I need that balance of negative and positive, and I have been using other people to supplement what I lack. So I'm going to stop doing that. So I'm no longer codependent. I want to be interdependent. I can't remember if it's intra or inter. I have to look it up. There is dependent, independent, it's interdependent. And interdependent is basically when you are dependent or you're independent, but you're side by side with somebody. That's interdependence. When you are independent individuals, but you're side by side, that is the sweet spot. That is the neutrality. That is what you are supposed to be achieving. That is the ideal, healthy balance in life. That is when you both have done the inner work. That is when you both, and if you're into twin flames or soulmate stuff, this is it. This is it. You are looking for interdependence where you are both neutral. You are both balanced. You are not using each other to pull on the projections of what you lack because you are independent, but you exist side by side with somebody else who is also independent. This is ideal because you both exist on a neutral plane. It is a very, very beautiful thing. So that all being said, we're going to take a look now at what exactly BDSM is and how it fits into all of this. Just a moment. I need to close down some videos because I'm getting blinged with all these notifications, and I'm getting it in my ear like bling, 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 bling. And I'm like, all right, we're done. Okay, so control, authority, and power. These are my specialties. I love doing this. We have a spectrum. And we have basically a must serve, and we have over here a master. When you have the master mentality, it's basically a hoarding of all the power, of all the control and all the authority. Now, my philosophy brain just turned on and said, define all of these. Control is the ability to imagine a chessboard. Imagine a chessboard. Control is the ability to physically pick up each individual piece and put it exactly where you want it. That's control. Authority is a mindset. It is the ability to command. In a control situation, you have to hold on to the pawn. You have to hold on to the knight. And you can't let that go. When you put it on the board, you're not letting it go. Now, there's a rule in chess where you do not end your move unless you remove your hand from the piece. So if you move your pawn from point A to point B, your position is still in play until you relinquish control. The minute your hand is removed from the pawn, your turn is ended. You cannot take it back. As long as your hand is touching that piece, you can put that piece wherever you want. You hold control over the board. So control is you physically holding on to that piece. Authority is the ability to sit back and see all the moves ahead. And you know exactly how you are going to checkmate your opponent in 5 moves, and you can already see what they're going to do. That is authority. Power is the ability to manipulate them to make the move you want them to make on that chessboard that's going to lead to you checkmating them in 5 moves or less. Do you see the difference between control, authority, and power? Now, a lot of people, we all desire authority over our own lives. Authority is actually what we need. Authority over your own life. But a lot of people think that to get authority, you require control. So people will use control to supplement their lack of authority. We see this a lot with narcissism. Likewise, power is actually your ability to execute X. So authority and power actually go hand in hand. They're both very good things. But the insecure individual will mistake authority and power for control. Imagine all of this is done through the power, the skill. And I want to say that power is skill. It's your skill set on managing this. Control is the physical execution. That's where we see micromanaging. Micromanaging is control. A person who's been abused by somebody who seeks to control, if you have a grandiose narcissist who wants to control every aspect of your life, that's going to make you associate, oh, he controlled me. And yeah, definitely that's controlling. But that's not authority. If you had authority, and you do have authority, that's what I teach people is actually you do have authority. It's the illusion. That's the problem. They use your mindset against you to change your mindset to make you think you don't have authority and power when you do, so you can't fight back. That is how narcissists fight. It's pretty dirty. That being said, they then use control as a method to manipulate and manage you. And it's not the same thing. What you seek, what you have is authority and power, but your authority and your power scares them. So they end up using control as a method to exercise their own intuition and feeling. Now, if you have somebody who's in a CEO position or a doctor's position, that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of power and authority. It is an imbalance. And as a result, when they get home at night, they can't shut it off. They can't relax. 99% of my clients, 99% of the people who I worked with when I was doing BDSM regularly were doctors and attorneys. Most of them were doctors because they had such a massive amount of authority and power that when they got home, they were all CEO executives, big business. And when they got home at night, they could not turn it off. And the reason why is because they had a massive amount of mastery and authority and power over here, and they had an imbalance of submission and servitude over here. Because of that imbalance, they used BDSM to project and compensate for what they lacked. So all of my subs, all of my clients were massive, powerful CEOs, business owners with like 40 bars or 40 different offices. They were magnificent. in their success. But they had so much success, so much authority, and so much power that they had an imbalance. So they sought out BDSM in the submissive side so they could balance it out, because they were projecting what they lacked in their servitude and submission with the BDSM. That's where it comes into the lifestyle. And they didn't care at all what anything else was. It was just this massive imbalance. That is what they saw. Absolutely, that is what they saw. If you had a janitor, and this was very common, to have a janitor who was this massive BDSM mistress or dominatrix or dom, because they lacked that severe imbalance. They required to exercise power somehow. And for me, it was my trauma, because I was so traumatized and I was forced to be a slave. When it came to the BDSM, I took on the role of mistress because it was the only way I was able to dabble in authority and power, until I psychologically figured all this out and I just took back my authority and my power on my own. Once I did that, I didn't need to compensate what I lacked with a lifestyle, which is why I'm not practicing anymore, is because I'm the BDSM mistress of my life, because I have found that balance. I found the neutral zone. So getting into narcissism now, when you realize that everything is about this authority and this power, now it's a matter of, okay, am I going to be serving, or am I going to be the master? In my previous video in Shifting Perspectives, I talk about the narcissist mindset. If you have not watched it, absolutely watch it now. Like, really, go watch it now. Pause this and go watch it now, because this is going to be part 2 of that video. And basically what ends up happening is, once we're raised by our mothers to accept this concept of, am I going to be the master or am I going to be the slave? That sets your tone for how you handle your relationship with authority and power for the rest of your life, until you do the inner work. Bottom line, until you do the inner work. And that's the way it is for all of us. Either you are going to project onto others, or you are going to do the inner work. When you do the inner work, you start to explore your relationship with authority, control, and power. You determine if you are the master or the slave. And it starts to change how you view the world, how you view your relationships, how you review your lifestyle. And it's all on your mindset. Your mindset is 100% built on your relationship with identity and how you view authority, power, and control. Period. That is your identity. Where do you stand with authority, power, and control? Because all of that is the deciding factor for how you define yourself. Now, the question is, how do you want to define yourself? Do you want a surplus so that you're a master? Do you want a deficiency so that you're a slave? Or do you want the balance in that neutral zone? And if you do, now we're looking at inner work. Now we're looking at changing your mindset. So people who jump into healing never explore this. They don't. Because it takes a BDSM mistress to figure this shit out, who's steeped in psychology and philosophy, to go, oh, this is what we're really dealing with. So I see a lot of people who are going, I'm going to heal and do inner work, and I'm going to figure shit out. And then I'll talk to people and I get a lot of this back. Wait, you're telling me that I'm just looking for my identity? Yes, you need a mindset coach. When you decide to do a healing journey, you are looking for your identity, because your identity has been taken away from you and replaced with master slave. Which is it? Which is it? Which were you when you were a child? It's definitely your mother. 100% look at your mother. Your mother absolutely did this to you. And this is a problem, because I love my mother. I adore my mother. I love her to pieces. But women are taught in our society that this is how you parent. If you live in America in the last 100 years, sorry, this involves you, because this is how we train our women, that their only purpose is to breed. that their only purpose is to have children. Everyone can relate. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a mother. Now, you have the occasional woman who didn't want that. Good for her. She was able to break away from the system. But there was a good chance she was ostracized, slandered. People looked at her like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? I hate babies because people expect me to love them. I have people walking and handing me their children like, isn't it cute? What the hell? Just because I'm a woman, you're defining me by that child? That I'm immediately going to be drawn to your child just because I'm a woman? I call that misogyny. So I don't cater to misogyny. But because I'm a woman, so many people assume that I'm immediately going to fawn over someone else's strange child when I have no emotional connection to that person. I don't look at babies as anything more than just people. People who lack complete identity and autonomy because they're dolls, because they haven't achieved that yet. So you might have an emotional connection to your child, but it's downright misogyny to assume all women are going to fawn over your child. That's the way our society is. And I don't cater to that. I used to work in an office and people would bring in their infants and throw them on my desk and be like, look at my baby. And I'm like, excuse you, I'm trying to work. And they would get upset with me because I didn't fawn over the child, because I refused to cater to the misogyny. That I had no emotional connection to this human being, and they were turning this human being into a doll for their entertainment. And I refused to cater to that. Oh, it got me a lot of hate. But that is the kind of crap that women are expected and catered to adhere to. Our relationship with infants and babies and children is supposed to define a woman. And so long as we cater to that mentality, it caters to a bigger problem, which is the concept that a woman is required for the identification of her purpose in life to love a child. And that becomes her identity. She's groomed into that identity. We teach our children that every time we hand our daughters a doll. You don't have a child, have a doll instead, because this is who you are. Every time you hand your daughter a doll, you are conditioning her to define herself by her relationship with her child that she doesn't even have yet. Her entire identity completely encapsulates this concept of, I will be a mother one day, and then I will know who I am. So that when she has the child, she suddenly has purpose in life, as if she existed nothing prior to that child being born. So that when in 20 years that child leaves the nest and goes on for a life of its own, the woman is completely empty and shellless and stripped of everything she has because, well, without my child, I'm nothing. That is codependency. That is toxic upbringing. And our entire society revolves around it. So yes, your mother, conditioned by our society, has now conditioned you to fall into the role of master or slave based on how she loved you. If you're the firstborn, you were probably assigned her master because she requires a master. This is what our society conditions. You are nobody without a master. You are nobody without someone to serve. A child requires your full servitude. You serve the child so that the child may exist. That is your purpose. That is your identity. You were groomed for this. Here, have a doll. That's exactly the cycle. So that when she finally has a child, she serves the child. She gives the child. She dedicates her life to the child. And the child isn't even 5 years old. The child is hungry. I'll get you something to eat. Definitely, I agree with feeding your children. But it's the instant gratification, the constant jump to, it's the mentality that drives it. That's the problem. The child cries, I'll get you. Don't let the child, this is where helicopter parents come in. This is it right here. This is the parent jumping up and catering to this. They are actually grooming a master. The oldest child is literally groomed to become a master. Now, she only needs one master. So all of the other children she has, she doesn't need them. They need her. So now, while she's sitting here giving everything she has to the master child is learning that this is love. So the child is growing up as early as infancy going, oh, look at that. If I want to receive my mother's love, she has to serve me. Oh, if that isn't a BDSM dom, I don't know what is. That is 100% the dom. And this is what I call faux doms. I call those faux doms. God, this takes me back. I use the term faux dom because there's an actual dom, the dominatrix, the dom, and they took on a role of I will serve and I will take care of and I will nurture the sub. That's what happens when a slave, quote unquote, becomes a dom. But if a narcissist, if the master becomes a dom, then it's, I'm going to treat my subs like dirt. I'm going to treat my subs like maggots. That's a faux dom. That is toxic. That is abuse. Oh my God. I have horror stories I cannot tell people with what I have seen from faux doms. One of those horror stories, putting it very mildly, resulted in me driving to Middletown one day because of a rape. It was horrific because a narcissistic dom who was trained by his mother that this is love decided to go into BDSM. And what he was really doing was raping women as a tally mark to show his conquered quests, because he had a serious problem with authority, power, and control, and he was using people to project and supplement what he lacked: love. So that being said, I call those faux doms because they've missed the point. Now, on the flip side of that, you have the children, the second born, the third born, the fourth born, who need their mother because they need to survive. And now they're going, oh my God, when will my mother need me? And it's on a rare occasion that the mother actually turns to the others and goes, okay, I'll give you some attention. And that trains the slave mind to go, oh, my mother needs me. I'm being loved. Oh, my mother doesn't need me. Now I'm being shelved. And they're constantly put on this shelf status. They're constantly being told to wait until they're needed again. So they start to associate being needed with love. And it's all because of the mother's mindset of you have to give your life to your children, but you only need one master. Now, each one of these children is going to grow up and become their own narcissist, codependent, BDSM, twisted, projected relationship. Every one of them. So if you have a mother with 4 children, then the oldest, that one's going to go off and seek out people to serve. So he's going to hunt down narcissists, or I'm sorry, he's going to hunt down empaths. And all he has to do is say, I need you. You need to take care of me. I need you to take care of me. Now, a strong, independent woman will laugh at him and go, fuck you. I'm not your mother. I'm not your mother. I'm not your mother. That's right. That's how we define mothers in our culture. Think about it. I cannot tell you how many memes I have seen about this, where the comment back is, I'm not your mother. Because we define mother as a woman who completely serves in slavitude her oldest child. That's how we define mother. That's what we've created. And now you have these other children, the ones who aren't the firstborn, the ones who weren't needed because she needs to serve the master. And now you've got leftovers. I was a leftover. So my sister, my youngest brother, and I had to scavenge scarcity mindset for even a fraction of my mother's attention, because my mother gave 100% of her attention and time to my oldest brother because he was her master. My brother is now a grandiose narcissist. My mother serves him because she was taught to serve. I was taught to serve. So I sought out masters. So every one of my owners, every one of my relationships, all 4 of them were masters until my current partner. Until I finally was so burned by this whole process that in 2020, I said, fuck this shit. I'm checking out. And I left the system. when I left the system, I was able to divorce all of the mindset. And I was able to go, whoa, this is like a brave new world and I'm loving it. And oh my God, have I found my identity, my inner peace, and I am just sweet sailing here. So that all being said, my sister and my brother are both slaves. They have the slave mindset where they have to serve their spouse. They have to serve their children. They dedicate their whole life and existence and being to the existence of their children. And they are teaching their children the same lesson. I'm a mother, therefore I will lay down and die for you. And that is the cycle. And then you've got all the empaths screaming, oh, narcissists are so abusive. They're so horrible. You're feeding them. They're the parasite, but you're the symbiote. You've chosen to be a symbiote. You've been groomed from infancy to be a symbiote. You're the host. And that's it, really. If you're a slave, you're the host. If you're a master, you're the parasite. That's codependency. The reason why I have a serious problem with traditional psychology is because traditional psychology loves to use the concept of codependency, and they only cram it into the realm of alcoholism. Could I give a bigger eye roll? It is a very narrow-minded point of view that is absolutely toxic and detrimental to healing. Codependency literally has nothing to do with alcoholism. It is just one color of the rainbow. But codependency is very much reserved for just the alcohol. And it's ridiculous. It's ignoring the entire spectrum of the rainbow. So 99%, in fact, I'll say 100% of the books out there, all they want to talk about when it comes to codependency is alcoholism. And it's fucking bullshit. It's like saying, oh, PTSD is only for veterans. No, it's not. PTSD is not only for veterans, and codependency is not only for alcoholics. It doesn't work that way. And you've missed the big picture. Codependency is absolutely a host versus a parasitic relationship that comes from this concept of authority, power. Actually, it's control. And either you are the controller, you're the master, or you're not controlling and you're completely submissive. And BDSM provides this beautiful lifestyle, this very colorful lifestyle, adventurous, mysterious, alluring lifestyle to people who seek out this mastery of playing around with roles, authority, power, and control. It's a delusion. It truly is a delusion. And every lifestylist just screamed at me, how dare I call it a delusion? I used to be a part of that delusion. And it stops being a delusion when you start to do the inner work and you start to realize what you actually lack inside of yourself. That's it. When you project on other people, what is a projector? Think about it. What is a projector? It is a machine that provides an image of something that isn't really there. That's a projection. It's a projection. So you have a choice of either projecting onto other people, using people to flux your relationship with authority. You want the authority, you crave the authority, but you don't know how to get it because you're blindsided by control and you've got this slave master concept in your brain that's manipulating your every move because this is what you define as love. I talk a lot on the cognitive core. And when you look into the cognitive core, the cognitive core is basically an abstract belief and perspective processing system. That is what the cognitive core is. It is your belief and your point of view processing system. I created it. The cognitive core is my brain baby. And I created this abstract concept to communicate how we process belief into perspectives. Now, the beliefs are accumulated by three. There's three parts to a belief. There is your identity, how you define love. There is your ethics, how you define what is right and wrong. And then there are the data that you receive from outside sources and from your internal sources. I love using this as an example. I love animals. I ethically believe in the preservation of all animals. Therefore, I loathe the Hoover Dam. That's simple. The Hoover Dam is killing and raping the planet. It is responsible for more than 100 extinct species of fish. I have this hatred of the Hoover Dam because I love animals and I believe it is morally wrong to harm a species or the planet. Therefore, I hate the Hoover Dam. See how this works? So these three things are now, I've got identity, defining what I love, my ethics, defining what is right and wrong, and my beliefs. When these three things combine, I have my perspective. Now, when you have a mother who is part of this system of the slave and the master with the authority problem, the paradigm, let's call it a paradigm. When you have a mother who is part of the slave master paradigm, and that slave master paradigm, then what ends up happening is you redefine love, not by love what you care for, but the definition of love changes to what you need, or if you are being needed, or what you are comfortable with. Your definition of love itself is changed. Now, when that happens, your ethics are changed because your ethics are based off of what you love. And if your definition of what love is changed and altered, then your ethics are changed and altered to reflect your identity, which changes your beliefs, which changes your perspective because your entire system is defined by what you love. But if your entire definition of love is based off of what if you are needed and not actually what you love, now you have an identity crisis. Most of us have an identity crisis. That identity crisis leads to misleading beliefs. Misleading beliefs are the fear system putting in fears within the belief system to alter the perspective. When that happens, mental illness is created. Mental illness 100% comes from misleading beliefs. Change the misleading belief, you remove the toxic mental illness. The behavior is no longer required to maintain the alignment because alignment is restored to the identity. Pause this, rewind the video, watch the last 5 minutes again. Take notes. Mental illness is 100% caused by limiting beliefs. If you change the beliefs, you remove the mindset. If you redefine how you view love, defining love as what you care about. What you care about. What do you care about? What do you care about? Because if you care about being needed, that's not love. That is a toxic belief taught by your slave master paradigmed mother. That is what most of us were taught. So this whole planet revolves around a distorted definition of love. That love is defined by how much you can use or be used by people. That's it. Our entire society is defining love by how much you can be used and be used by people. That's why all of us, most of us, are using other people or seeking to be used. This was actually my breaking point in my healing. I reached a point where I said, I can't be used anymore. I started to look at all of my relationships as people using me, and when they couldn't use me anymore, they threw me away. That's why everything ended for me in 2020, is because they couldn't use me anymore. That's what being needed is. It's being used. I'm going to say that again. Being needed is being used. Needing someone is using them. That is not love. Love is the opposite. Love is caring about someone without having a single thought about what you can take from them. That is love. Love is giving to someone. Just giving without any concept of what you're going to get back. And every time you are given something, do you tally it up? Is it a bank account? Is it a debt owed? That's using. That's being needed or needing. That's not love. Love is absent of debt. Love is absent of being used. Love is absent of purpose. I have a cat. This cat has no purpose. It's not being used. It's just a cat. It kind of does whatever the hell it wants to do, sometimes to my detriment. Like when I'm trying to sleep at 3 a.m. and it decides to sit on my face so I can't breathe. Sometimes I'll be walking and this cat will decide that my toes are the next toy for its entertainment, and then my toes are intertwined in its claws. That's a cat. And I love the cat. And believe you me, the cat is not there for my happiness because I cannot use the cat. The cat does whatever the cat wants to do. And I simply admire the cat. I give all of my love to the cat, knowing that that cat does not give a shit about me. And that's okay. It doesn't have to give a shit about me. It's a cat. I don't need the cat to love me. I just love the cat. I adore its fuzz. I adore the sense of humor. I adore. I value. I admire. I love. And I do all of these things without expectations. When you start expecting things, it's not love anymore. That is, how can I use this thing? How can I use this person? Which is probably why a lot of narcissists don't like cats, is because they can't use cats. I have yet to meet a narcissist who truly loves cats. I'm sure they're out there. But it's really a concept of when you love something, you don't ask what you can get back, because now that's need and that's being used. And if you associate belonging with being used, are you associating your value and your worth with how much someone can use you? Because that's what your mother has conditioned you to do. That is what your mother has conditioned you to believe, because that is what your mother was taught. And we all have this very protective, loving concept over our mothers. Oh my God, my mother was a wonderful woman. Yes, but she was probably a terrible parent, which is okay. Most people are terrible parents because there is no one agreed upon method for proper parenting. So we're all giving our own opinion, and all of our opinions are based off of pain, mental illness, and control, and a really piss poor relationship with authority and identity. So yeah, most parents are really fucking bad at parenting. But that doesn't mean they're a good or a bad person. It means they're mentally ill. And it's not an attack on your mother. It's an attack on our system and how our system treats women and how our system expects women to cater to this mindset. So yeah, your mother very much probably put you in a master-slave paradigm because your mother was raised in a master-slave paradigm, because that is what our system does. That is Eve's curse. Eve's curse has put women in a master-slave paradigm. Here's the irony. A mother is what creates the system. A mother is the one who spends the majority of the time with a child. Now, I know times are changing. I know that's no longer the case. I know that a father can step in and be just as awesome and amazing. But now you have a lot of men who are raised to be master or slaves, and now they're repeating the system. And it does not negate the fact that 150 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, women were expected to maintain and embrace this master slave paradigm, and no one is talking about it. No one is aware. Everyone is sweeping it under the rug and going, I don't understand what's wrong with society today. We are putting our mothers in a master slave paradigm that cultures and navigates and nurtures narcissism, empaths, and slave master mindsets. It's codependency. And it's all based on the concept of a needing mentality to define the self, because a woman is expected to define herself by whether or not she is needed or used by her children. And when her children can't use her anymore and they throw her away, she completely crumbles and falls apart. Now, when my mother lost her children, because she realized she felt like she was a slave, and she was. So she tried to escape the slave system. And immediately her subconscious mind, because her subconscious mind was groomed for this, immediately had another child, my youngest sister, who immediately became the next master. So my oldest brother is the master, and my youngest sister is the master. And my mother serves the master. Now my mother has grandchildren. So now my mother uses and serves all of the grandchildren. And she's doing it still, where she is the servant to the grandchildren. And the grandchildren have this massive, I'm going to use you and parasitically consume you. And when you have children who are used to associating, oh, someone needs me, therefore I'm loved, and you suddenly have a grandmother now who's gravitating and pulling all the grandchildren and the grandmother in this great codependent relationship. Great symbiotic relationship. Because now children who are in the slave system, who are in that slave mind of, oh, I need to be somebody, I need to serve somebody, suddenly they have all the attention, and now they feel like they're really loved because they have a grandmother who loves them. So you're going to see a lot of children who are second, third, and fourth born all gravitating toward the grandmothers, because the grandmothers give them the attention, the visibility that they crave from the mother, who's too busy being distracted by the master. So yeah, it's very much, when you look into BDSM and you look at how the authority and that power control relationship and that submissive dominance absolutely caters to the big picture of how all of this moves and shifts together, it's absolutely part of it. But again, it comes down to, are you going to project onto other people a job, possessions, a lifestyle, or are you going to do the inner work? Are you going to focus on your mindset? Now, here's the problem when you decide to change your mindset. Changing your mindset is like trying to grab the big picture of the magnitude of the universe, but you're stuck inside a box. And a mindset coach literally is NASA. A mindset coach is NASA. Oh, you want the big picture? You want to escape your little box? Let me get into my rocket and I'll take you to space. Let me show you a bigger picture. It's not the biggest picture. Let me get you over to the Hubble telescope. Maybe then you'll start to comprehend what you're part of. You require the big picture. But if you are trapped inside this little box and you're trying to find your way out of your little box, you have to shift your perspective outside of the box to see the big picture. And that's where a mindset coach comes in. That's where a really fucking good mindset coach can really show you the big picture of where you are really located in this world. It's all about relativity. Oh my God, do I love physics. It's 100% about your relative position to your identity, to the self, and to the outside world. And oh my God, now this is philosophy. This is God, I love my work. I love my work so much. This is philosophy and physics, all seeping into the subconscious mind and psychology. You are absolutely trying to get a relative fix on your location. You are trying to find your coordinates, but you lack that big picture. And in order to get the big picture, you require perspective. You require the skills to shift perspective, to step outside of the box, to gain relativity, to define your coordinates, to know who you are and where your place is in the world. And in order to do that, you require shifting perspectives. My name is Anna Imagination. I am with the Healing Garden. I am the master of mindset. I am currently taking clients. Book a call. The link is below. Subscribe to my newsletter. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you, and may the kindest of words always find you.